Welcome to another edition of Puck Time. It is Tuesday, $5 Tuesdays over at WagerTalk. And as you see, he's up on the screen, and there he is as well, too. Brian Leonard. He's going to be doing a little bit of double duty today. Brian, we brought you on early because I know you have to get out. You have an appointment. So we really appreciate you coming on to discuss. You're going to do the Seattle Kraken and Anaheim Ducks right off the top. Pittsburgh Penguins, New York Islanders. Andrew and I were going to do Toronto and Edmonton as well, too. Same game parlay, a pod. I'm disgusted by the pod yesterday. Should have been a Winnipeg Jets power play in overtime. If you guys watched that game, too many men on the ice for Dallas. Guy jumped into the play on the 2-on-1 before the other guy had gotten to the bench. But I can't complain about everything, Bri. Because if I did,
I can.
It would be a whole show of me just complaining. And Andrew's been through that already. Andrew watches me complain the first 15 minutes of every show as well, too. Brian, any surprises last night? Somebody mentioned Colorado, 87 games at home without allowing a goal. The Detroit Red Wings go in there and shut them out. I said on yesterday's show, because I think Andrew mentioned the total, and I said, well, Detroit's going to score at least a couple goals. I didn't know that those were going to be the only goals of the game.
Yeah, I was somewhat surprised by some of the games yesterday. St. Louis took a ton of money yesterday. It's a few teams that took a ton of money. Chicago, I kicking myself for not playing Chicago. That was an obvious play. I didn't get there. I only had one play up for clients. I had the Buffalo Sabres, and that was a nice winner for us. But we're on the show giving free plays, and I ended up losing both of my free plays. So today I'm going. I know it's $5 Tuesday. It's Zero Tuesday for me because I'm going to give everybody my $5 play here since I lost both my free plays on the show yesterday. And I'm going to take a look at this Seattle game tonight against Anaheim. Really important battle for playoff positioning before the break. There's a lot of games coming down to some very important games for some of these teams. Seattle currently has 61 points. Anaheim comes in with the same 61, but they've got one more game played. So a slight advantage there for Seattle when it comes to playoff positioning. The Ducks are the better team currently at 8-2-0 record overall the last 10. Seattle 5-4-1, but it's been 5 straight winners for Seattle. They're playing pretty good hockey right now. Both teams playing really good hockey, and it's a shame that the break is coming up right now. But the visitors played 6 to 7 games at home, while the Ducks have played 5 or 6 away from home. So I think that gives a little advantage here for Seattle when it comes to the situation in this game. The road teams also won each of the earlier meetings. In fact, the last loss for Seattle overall was the last time they played these Ducks. They lost 4-2 at home. So you got somewhat of a quick revenge. That was 12 days ago. So you got the team with a quick revenge in a series this year that's been dominated by the road team. And this is also, and you could discuss this after I'm done here, is it just me, or is it a situation where this is the last game of the first half, or whatever you're going to talk before the break for Anaheim? And if you are anything like me and you remember back when you were in school, or if you're at work and you're just about to go on vacation, the last day is the one that you look past a little bit. Now, I know these two, as I just mentioned, they're both fighting for playoff position here, and it is a little bit of a rivalry, obviously. But the Kings got to play the Kraken plays the Kings tomorrow. So they're focused on this game. Well, this is the last game before the break for Anaheim. It's also the 10th game in 19 days for Anaheim, with only 2 occurrences without travel. Like I said, we've all been there. The last game before you leave, your last day of school, it's something that I think teams overlook a little bit, and we see that a lot of times. Not only are these two teams tied in points, but Seattle has a 9 net goal differential on the season. This should be much closer to a toss-up as opposed to the line when I wrote this game up. It has moved a little bit towards Seattle. It's still in my range, obviously. I like Seattle as the underdog here. I think there's nice betting value on the Kraken. And I don't get to say Kraken very often on the show. I love that word. But I like Seattle in this game.
Yeah, Bry, I don't blame you on this one. The road teams in this series have fared well. So I think 6 of the last 7 games between these two, the road team has won, which we kind of back up your Seattle play in this one. These are 2 teams I think are playing well enough. It should be a good one. I was looking at the total, and it just because of the way Seattle plays, I don't want to take the over. Normally, you look at Anaheim, and they're one of the better over teams in the league, and it's like an auto. You just kind of have that auto opinion. Okay, I'm going to bet the over there home. It's some open ice just before the Olympic break, but I could see Seattle coming in here and stealing one of those 3-1, 3-2 type games. Any thoughts on the total?
Nothing on the total, really. I'm with you. Normally, Anaheim at home, it's one of those situations where they've been very good at home this year. Seattle's turned into a pretty good road team last few years overall, and they're playing a little bit better on the road here. Seattle does have to play again tomorrow in LA, and so it's the second of a back-to-back. It'll be a tough game for them, but I think they come to play tonight. I like the Seattle, but I'm not enough for me on the total in this game to really give you something good.
All right, Bry, appreciate you coming on today. You're doing quadruple duty. You're going to be around tomorrow. We'll keep you around a little bit longer to do a couple games. A little more Brian, a little less Carmine as far as the talking goes. And that's always a good thing. It's a positive. I really think it's a positive. And then, of course, Don Buster's on tomorrow. And then you and Don return on Thursday as well, too, prior to the break. And we're going to have a great deal, guys. Listen, the pitchers and catchers are reporting soon, I believe, Brian.
Yeah.
And if there's one person at WagerTalk that you want to get baseball from this season, much like last year, is Brian Leonard. Kills it each and every year. I am going to put together a deal on Thursday's show for Brian for you guys to take advantage of. And if you don't, then from the February 6th to the 25th, there'll be no PuckTime shows as penance. How does that sound?
That sounds great for me. We're putting a bribe up there for you. So, it should be a pretty good deal. And I'm really excited. Obviously, if you followed me over the years, I'm really good in the money line sports, hockey and Major League Baseball. And love the underdogs in these sports. And I know you guys feel the same way, that good money to be made and you don't have to lay big prices for it.
All right.
Well, Brian, it's always great chatting with you. I've really enjoyed getting to know you and talk about the morning with you. So I like that play as well. I get what you're saying with that. I just wanted to follow up on what you were saying about the last, day before a vacation and things like that, because I feel like I always joke around that handicappers can look at quotes from coaches or players, right? And we can really twist quotes to appease our opinion, right? That's why I'm not as much of a quotes guy. But with that said, do you agree that mindset can also both work for an over and both work for an under? Because if they're looking ahead to vacation, maybe they play sloppy and it leads to goals. But if they're also looking ahead to vacation, maybe their mind isn't all there and we see an under. So I know Carmine asked it to you already, but I find it interesting because you can kind of look at it from both sides of it, where sloppy, because for me, I've always been an under before the break, over after the break kind of guy. So I'll just say that's kind of been my opinion on it, and we'll see if that ends up coming through. But sometimes people think that rest means sloppiness, but I think that a lot of times because I when I first started doing this, I always thought that, hey, these players never forget their offense, they forget their defense. But I think that sometimes when you come out of the break, these guys are a little bit more like, okay, we got to come out here and we're going to kind of just roll the puck out and play. But before the break, it's like, if we're going to do anything good, we're going to go in there and give it our all kind of defensively.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the kind of players you have on your team. Obviously, with the Olympics coming up, certain teams have much more players going to that. And I think because of that, you may find some advantages about going against those kind of teams in that regard, because they've got, obviously it's not Well, it's a somewhat vacation for them because they get to leave and get to hang out with guys they don't normally see and their peers. But yeah, it's important to a lot of these guys out there. And I know for the local Vegas team, a lot of our guys are going into this where there's some teams just don't have nearly as many. So it'll be interesting. I've never charted that before because it doesn't come up as often. But that's something to really pay attention to when you're going down to these last few days of this side of the break.
Awesome,
all right, Bri, to that point of, and just to add one more thing to that Seattle one, Seattle, 5 straight wins in Anaheim. The last 4 have gone under the total. So 3-2 Seattle tonight. I'll find the odds on that one and
I'll take
throw
it.
a couple pizza slices from Pizza Rock down on
There you
Fremont
go.
Street or whatever on it. Bri, thanks, man. We're going to see you tomorrow.
All right. Good luck, everybody.
All right, Brian. Take care. Carm, I could be wrong, but only one Buffalo Sabre is that going? Or I guess Rasmus Dahlin would be going. So how many Sabres? Because you could be looking pretty good, though. There's not too many guys on your team going, right?
It's weird because like I'm watching the Leaf game yesterday, and I didn't think about that. I was watching the Sabre game earlier, and then I'm watching the Leaf game, and they're talking about that there's only 3 Toronto Maple Leafs going to the Olympics. And the best one was the best one on the ice last night, William Nylander. He was absolutely on fire yesterday. The Leafs only won yesterday because of 2 players on the ice. I know that sounds weird, but William Nylander and Joseph Woll in goal. The guy was unbelievable. Calgary should have scored in that third period, should have tied it up. And if they did, they would have won the game. And I had the Leafs. So it's not a biased opinion. I released the Leafs clients. Andrew, 14-5, the high danger chances in that Calgary game for Calgary, 7-2 in the third period. They were all over them.
Yeah.
The puck hit the crossbar, drops and lands on the on the goal line, but it bounces away from the net instead of into the net. It was just absolutely insane. The Leafs were holding on for dear life. If they play like that tonight against the Edmonton Oilers, I've seen 7s all over the place. We'll talk about that a little later on, man. But
they're in tough.
How was your night?
You know what, Carm? I ended up releasing just one play, and you and Brian talked about it off the hop. I had the first period over in the Wings and Avalanche game. We got a goal 30 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
And then it lost. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Got a goal literally 33 seconds into the first period. There was a goal, and there wasn't anything else after that in the first period. So that was a little bit tough to deal with. But honestly, didn't like last night's slate as much. We ended up kind of really liking this slate here today. So $5 Tuesday, guys, get after it with Carm's hockey plays, my hockey plays. I've got college basketball. So we did go 3 for 3 with the player props yesterday. So that was kind of nice with the player prop segment. The funny thing is, though, Carm, and I'm telling everybody now, this has happened too many times where I give out like 3 props and then I pick who's going to win or I pick the total. So I gave out 3 props on the show yesterday and then with the Senators game, right? And then I threw in the first period over. Malkin gets a point. Tommy Novak gets a point. He scores a goal. And Tkachuk gets 4 shots on goal, but the first period over didn't hit. So anybody that we can only say this so much, but if any of you guys took the Tommy Novak point, that was plus money. Malkin point, shots on goal for Brady Tkachuk. Like the props went 3 for 3, but the same game parlay didn't hit. Yeah. So that's kind of tough. But we'll take it.
And you've been telling people the last couple of weeks, you know what I mean? Like we added that segment in because you guys asked for it during the off season. The same game parlay won. We ditched the ladder challenge, went to a pod one instead. But you've been advocating the last couple of weeks, play these ones single, and then here's the same game parlay payout if you wanted to take it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You know what I mean? That's the old saying. So hopefully some of you guys are taking the individual game props and embedding them that way and making money. Yeah. Because you hit 75% of your plays and you lose money. That's a bad thing, right, Andrew?
Yes.
I think it's a bad thing.
And I'll tell you guys, like
Right.
I did a little bit of a ladder yesterday with 3 shots on goal and 4 shots on goal for Kachuk. And when you got a guy like Tommy Novak, he's plus 140 just to get 1 point. I don't need to have that in a parlay. You don't need to. It's already plus 140, right? So we got some props we'll mention later on in the show and a little bit of a parlay as well. Hey, Lorenzo, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Broke it up like we've been telling you to do. You played all 3. That feels good to say. And Colsey, you're right. Play them straight. Play them straight. You don't have to play them any differently. Carm, before we get into it, I know you and I have talked about this so much, but I'm not really playing anything that much different besides figuring out bet on and bet against teams. Do you care right now? Like what Brian mentioned about Anaheim's last game. Are you taking that into account with your handicapping?
Yes and no. I think it plays a small part of it. The whole idea of coming up with any play is a lot of small parts, kind of like a puzzle. If the pieces of the puzzle all come together, you're going to take the play. If you're missing a piece, if you know you're missing a piece, you're not going to play it because that could be the piece. And it's similar to like the pod play yesterday. I talked about the fact that Winnipeg and Dallas play 1-goal games. I'm getting a team at plus money, a team that is starting to look to play better, and that Hellebuck is playing well. And it was there. It was there for the taking. We lose in OT. I am a little bitter just because of if they scored 3-on-3 and I lose the play, it's one thing. But when it's and that's why Hellebuck absolutely lost his shit with the referee in overtime, because he's like, the guy jumped into the play and touched the puck before the other guy even got to the bench. Automatic, too many men on the ice penalty, but it wasn't called. Missed calls are part of the game. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in every sport, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's hockey. Missed calls drive us nuts when you're on the wrong side of them. You don't care when you're on the right side of them. So
big time. Hey, don't forget about that cameraman from last week, Carm. Don't forget about
the cameraman. you take the good with the bad, but a good run for me, guys. And I'm happy for you guys who took advantage of that. The cup to cup special, which is still available, I think, for a few more days, where you get the rest of the NHL season and you get the World Cup. 12-3 NHL run for me, and 7 straight soccer winners. Another sweep yesterday, 2-0 in hockey, 2-0 in NHL. So I'm pretty happy about that. Back-to-back 4-0 days. I'm very happy about that, Andrew. So
well done.
With
well
that
done,
said,
Carm.
I don't want to be like that guy, the announcer, because I want to say I have not lost a game yet in February. I think 9 games, but I don't want to be like that announcer. This guy has not missed from inside 40 yards all season long, and then it's like clank off the upright, double doink, whatever you want to call it. I just can't take it. Speaking of double doinks, let's talk about the New York Islanders offense right now, Andrew, because it is really a doink. I talked about yesterday the Washington game, Andrew, and how I released it as a free play at 6.5, just because I thought Washington would play solid hockey defensively in front of Clay Stevenson, and they did it again. But the Islanders, 1 goal, dude, 1 goal. This team is dried up. Their scoring isn't there, and now you have Pittsburgh coming to town, and the Islanders are favored. It's a coin flip, 114 minus 106 for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But how are you playing this one?
Yeah, Carm, I'll say here, look, it's always interesting because we've got both teams on back-to-back. I guess you got to try and figure out which team is the most pissed off, which team is the most rattled. I was talking earlier in the show with Brian about coaches' quotes. I often tell you that I'm not a huge coaches' quotes guy, but maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, there's stuff that I notice that I have to mention on the show. And when Erik Karlsson just says to the media, hey, we were not good tonight. This was not our best effort. This is not a game that we can be proud of. But he also said, hey, this is just something that happens. We can accept it. And Carm, I'll keep it short and sweet, and we'll have a little bit of back and forth on this with you. There are certain things where you can read into, like an age of a team or the experience. I do think that this Pittsburgh Penguins team is one of the oldest teams in the league. And although it's a second half of back-to-back, an old team knows how to bounce back. An old team knows how to get pissed off and deal with it the right way, where sometimes a young team will spiral and it will lead to 2 losses, 3 losses, 4 losses in a row. I think this Pittsburgh Penguins team bounces back. One of the sources that I like to look at right now indicates that this team is heavily, and I mean heavily, relying upon goaltending. So although it was Rittich yesterday, so it's going to be Sorokin here today, it's looking like this team is relying a lot on them. Pittsburgh generating elite quality, 12.1 high danger shots for per game. So this to me is quality versus goaltending, quality versus defense. And like you mentioned, Carm, this team and the Islanders aren't really scoring many goals right now. When it comes to bounce back situations, this is a spot that I'm willing to read into a quote, guys. I'm not always a quotes guy, but this is a spot here. You're going to give me New York, you're going to give me Pittsburgh, 2 teams that are pissed off and embarrassed. I'll actually take Pittsburgh as far as the embarrassed teams go. And Steve Rogers, shout out to Steve. He says first period over. I wouldn't talk anybody out of a first period over bet either as well, Carm.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think I would lean the over in this game, Andrew. The total sits here at what, 6? I think it might have opened up at 5.5. And I get it's Sorokin in goal, but I think these teams are back to backs. I think it's also 3 and 4 nights for this team, if I'm correct. And it's just one of those ones where Pittsburgh's playing well. They're playing well. They're scoring goals. They want to finish off strong before the Olympic break. And with the Isles being at home, they weren't scoring a lot on the road, but back at home at what is it, USB Arena or UBS Arena or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
There, Andrew, you got to figure that off of last night's performance or a little better tonight. This is one of those ones where, when Brian talked about the last games before the international break or the Olympic break, that you could see a little bit of open ice. Last time these teams played, I think this is the first meeting between these teams and the only meeting thus far this season. The score was 4-3. I could see the same type of thing. It's such a common score, 4-3 in the NHL this season. I could see another one here that gets you over the total. So at 6, I like the over. If it was at 6.5, I wouldn't touch it. But even with Sorokin in goal for them, I like the over here.
And, it is funny because we talked about this game on the show, and I like that you put this yesterday on the show because, talking about the same teams, twice in a row. But that strategy teams have been doing lately with playing the number two goalie the first game in the back-to-back. Have you seen that teams have had success with that? Because what I see here is that it puts a hell of a lot more stress on them moving forward. And you guys know I've been talking a lot about the goalie save props on the show. And as much as I like the over with Carm and I like Pittsburgh here, I also wouldn't really talk anybody out of a Sorokin save prop. I mean it. Like, I haven't had as much success on the season with the shots prop, but then I lowered my volume, like yesterday's Kachuk prop and this one here, this one there. I think that Sorokin's going to have to stand on his head a little bit. And Carm, you remember, I keep talking about this. You're probably tired of me saying this, but I'm going to say it again. Remember how good the Rangers were with Shesterkin, and then they have a little drop-off? Maybe people don't realize and give Sorokin enough credit. Like, why is he not talked about enough, like Hellebuck and Vasilevsky and some of these guys? Why is Sorokin not equally given the credit he deserves?
I say it every year. I like him as a goalie. The problem is, in years past, like last year is a perfect example. Sorokin had very good numbers, but the Islanders weren't scoring goals. So you have a goalie who has like a 220 goals against average, and he has a record of like 13 and 19. And you're like, how is this possible? Because they weren't scoring goals. You know what I mean? And I think it's the same thing with the New York Rangers earlier on this season as well, too. They just couldn't score goals, especially at home. The only thing that worries me about the over, Andrew, is do we catch a couple goalies that are playing well. Like Sorokin at home is always a good goalie, but Skinner is projected to start tonight. Skinner's 7-1 in January. Let me see if I can find the number. Skinner was 7-1 in January with a .910 save percentage and a .213 goals against average. Man, the Edmonton Oilers could really use a goalie like Stuart Skinner. Oh yeah, that's right. They had him.
Yeah.
This is why I don't remember any stretches where Stuart Skinner had those same numbers for the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, I'm sure there was some good stretches when they went through that 16-game winning run. But sometimes it's not just the goalie; it's how the team plays in front of you. And I mentioned Kyle Dubas and what he's done with, I think, the top 6 defensemen on the Pittsburgh Penguins. I talked about it yesterday, that I think it is a good top 6 unit that can play some defense. It's one of the reasons why I kind of lean to Pittsburgh in the game along with the over. I haven't released either play, but I could see myself releasing one of the two as a client play. I'd probably go with of the two. I'd probably go with Pittsburgh. I think there's a little more upside to the Penguins right now. They're playing really well, and I have to completely eat my shoe, Andrew, on the fact that I said that the Pittsburgh Penguins would be a seller around the trade deadline, which is approaching in March. They're not trading anybody if they're playing the way they're playing right now.
Hey, you weren't alone. You weren't alone with that opinion, Carm. You definitely weren't alone with thinking that about the Pittsburgh Penguins. Nobody saw that coming, and it's good to see there's been some differences with kind of how everything's gone. So I think that, this Pittsburgh Penguins team they're probably going to be competitive as long as Sidney Crosby is on the team. But you got to give credit to players like Anthony Mantha. You got to give credit to Evgeny Malkin, 38 and 39 years old, Malkin and Crosby, for what they've been able to do. Ben Kindle has done pretty well for this team. You go down the lineup, some of these guys have done well. So I think that they're going to probably try and pick up a couple of key pieces. But I can't wait for you and I to be following the playoff race, because nothing's more fun for me, like on our show, when we're tracking every couple days the who will make or miss the playoff odds, because that's always good to look at. Yeah. West Coast Hockey, Jonathan says Sorokin is getting his love in the betting community. Favorite -155 for the Vezina. Definitely. I think we saw, we saw Vasilevsky get injured. We saw some different goalies get injured. Hellebuck's not having a good year. If he doesn't get it this year, Jonathan, there's really something wrong with him there. But yeah, look forward to it though, Carm. Hopefully Pittsburgh can get the job done, and we'll see if we get some goals.
Yeah, if Detroit keeps winning and John Gibson keeps playing the way he's playing, maybe a little attention should go to Gibson as well too. He had allowed 9 goals on 61 shots or whatever, and then he goes into Colorado and shuts them out 2-0 with the empty netter. Man, unbelievable. Speaking of teams who will not shut out their opponents tonight, let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers. I will eat my shoe, Andrew, if this game finishes 1-0 for either one of these teams. It's not happening. Edmonton -197, the Leafs +160. The total 7s. I am seeing 7s. It's like a slot machine. 7s across the board at most places. Andrew, how are you playing this one?
You talked about it. You said it at the start of the show. Joseph Woll, he stood on his head in that matchup last night against the Calgary Flames. This is one of those situations, guys, where it does set up well for the home team to get the job done. Home team off a 7-3 embarrassing loss. Road team, second half of back-to-back, and they're off a 4-2 win. And obviously, empty net goal is built into that. But, the way I look at it, Carm, is, and everybody out there watching, you don't always want to take a team after they lost a tough game. You don't want to always take a pissed off team. And I know you guys hear me use this angle a lot, but there's certain teams that I do trust when they're upset, when they're not happy, when they're angry. And I think this Oilers team is one of those teams. They're an emotional team, and whenever I see a 7, what I like to do is have a little bit of a sprinkle, not on the 3.5 for the team total, Carm. It's the 4.5. Give me over 4.5 goals for the Edmonton Oilers plus 140. The winner of this game, guys, is going to score 5 goals. I'm going to stand firm on that. The winner of this game will score 5 goals and reach that 5-goal mark or more. So I'll take over 4.5 goals plus 140 at DraftKings. Shop around for the best price you possibly can. It is the last game for the Leafs before their break, but they are off that win against the Flames. And you mentioned it, Carm. They don't have any depth. This team won that game last night because of Nylander. So we'll see if this Oilers team responds. But last year, I'll throw back to you with this, Carm. Last year, games that had a 7 ended up actually going under at a pretty good rate. But it closed out with the over. And so far this year, we've seen a couple games trickle with some 7s. And any game we've seen with a high 6.5 juice or a 7 so far has had a ton of goals. The last time the Oilers were a 7, it was them against the Anaheim Ducks. The game finished with like 11 goals, Carm. So maybe the books know what they're talking about when they put a 7 out there.
Yeah, I think the Leafs off a back-to-back. Obviously, having played last night in Calgary, but you look at like some of the games for these teams, and this is like going back to like even like the 23 season, 5-2, 7-4, 4-2, which is the only under with 6 goals, and then 6-3, 4-3, 4-3, and then 6-3 earlier this season when the Oilers came in to Toronto the second week of December and beat the Leafs 6-3. They're scoring goals. You know what I mean? What happens one night doesn't decide what is going to happen or shouldn't influence what happens the next night. But as I mentioned, there was so much open ice in that game last night for the Calgary Flames that if they could even finish half of their chances, it would have been an easy win. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing from the Leafs, who jumped out to a 3-0 lead and then almost blew that game. Calgary had so many chances, so much open ice in that game. If you give the Edmonton Oilers that type of room tonight at the Rogers Center, or if you come in with any type of heavy legs in this one, and Connor McDavid has that puck where he does those end-to-end rushes, you might want to look at those Connor McDavid goal scoring props. Connor to score, McDavid to score 2, maybe McDavid to score a hat trick. Andrew, I'm going to look at the McDavid to score a hat trick. That's got to be at least 15, 20 to 1 odds. I'm not sure if you can find it. It's got to be somewhere if one of you guys can find it. I would sprinkle some pizza slice money on that one because I do think we're going to see some goals in this game. I think
20 to 1
come from 20 to 1. There you go. Guys, that'll get you enough pizza to last you through the Olympic break. 20 to 1. But if you're putting pineapple on it, we can no longer be friends. With that said,
and just to be curious, Carm, we'll take a look at the 3 points. 3 points is only plus 200. How crazy is that? It's only plus 200 to get 3 points.
Yeah,
that's so low. That's very low.
Andrew, we talk about like information, and then you make it fit a narrative that you have. My narrative is that the Oilers win this game by 2+ goals. I just think they are a much better team than Toronto. Toronto is not even in a playoff spot. They are near the bottom of the standings. Only teams like the New York Rangers, Philadelphia, and New Jersey are sort of keeping them from being one of the last place teams in the league. This team is not looking good. I still think they should be a seller at the trade deadline and start stocking up some first round picks. But with that said, I'll probably look at like the Oilers puck line as a small play as well too tonight.
And at the end of the day, Carm, like, not like we're always going to take the favorite and say, hey, look, this team's going to bounce back, but it sets up as a really good spot for this Oilers team, you know? Yeah. And I've mentioned this over the years, and I got to get this from Ralph Michaels, but teams off games where they gave up 7 or more, 6 or 7 or more, like, in my opinion, the second you give up 7 goals, that's where the word embarrassing comes out. Wouldn't you agree? You give up 7 goals, you feel a little bit embarrassed by that.
You know, you look at the Oilers, Andrew, because we were talking about Skinner. Here's the Oilers' last 5 games at home: 7-3 losers to Minnesota, beat the Sharks 4-3, in which they trailed 3-0 in that game, came back to win it. Beat the Anaheim Ducks 7-4, beat the Washington Capitals 6-5, and then lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins 6-2. There's a lot of goals being scored there. So, yeah, the narrative for me is goals scoring tonight. The books know that if they put it at 6.5, minus 120-ish, people would pound the over. They tried to put it at 6.5. It's minus 140, minus 145 at 6.5 in some places. Laying 40 to 45 cents juice on a total is insane. You want to lay it on a side? Yes. Laying it on a total is insane because sometimes part of your narrative comes through. Hey, the Oilers are going to score some goals tonight, and then the Leafs fire a blank, and you're on the outside looking in as far as a winning bet goes. So I'd rather take the 7 with minimal or no juice on it and take the over and be and then if it lands on 7 exactly, I get a push, but I protect the bankroll from some high juice totals. Laying a ton of juice on totals, I think, is a bankroll killer. But with that said, Andrew, it is time for the world famous, award-winning, critically acclaimed same game parlay feature. Take it away.
Let's do it. I got a same game parlay for you guys. Before I jump into the same game parlay, I'll just throw out a couple numbers, couple stats for stuff that I'm looking at here for some guys that have done well in their certain matchups today. We're going to look at a couple guys that I think are probably worth mentioning. Capo Caco, 4 straight games for him against the Anaheim Ducks. He has a point, plus 150 for him. Matthew Nyes, 3 games in a row for him, with a point against the Edmonton Oilers. Rasmus Dahlin, 3 straight games with a point for him against the Tampa Bay Lightning. You can keep scrolling down the list. Look at Oliver Bjorkstrand, 4 straight games for him, plus 126 with a point against the Buffalo Sabres. Nugent Hopkins, assist prop. And I'll just go really, really quick to the goal scorers head-to-head market, because I always love looking at that stuff here. We got a couple kind of intriguing ones. Alex Tuck, plus 240. For Buffalo against Tampa Bay, and Bobby McMahon plus 340 for Toronto against the Edmonton Oilers. Another one that kind of caught my eye, but it seems a little bit too good to be true. Sean Monahan plus 390 anytime goal scorer, Columbus Blue Jackets tonight against the New Jersey Devils. Sean Monahan. So we'll check that out. Carm, as far as the same game parlay is concerned here, we've got 3 picks. Sidney Crosby assist, Anthony Mantha point, and yes, we're going to try and tie in a win here with this one. Pittsburgh Penguins money line win. This gets you to plus 395. Once again, Sidney Crosby assist, Anthony Mantha point, and Pittsburgh Penguins money line win. That will take you guys to plus 395. Again, both of these props are plus money, guys. Encourage you to take them both at single bets. And then if you want to, you can split up all 3 of these. 0.33 units, 0.33 units, 0.33 units if you'd like to. And we'll try and make some money. We went 3 for 3 with our player props yesterday. And of course, we want to make you guys some money and not just rely on the plus 400s or the plus 500s and all that good stuff. I'll just say before I throw back to Carmine, a lot of you guys have joined me on the Olympic pack so far. I keep mentioning this, but the deal that head office gave me, I don't know if they expected me not to give out that many picks for the Olympics or whatever it is, but $59, guys, for all of my Olympic men's hockey plays. We're going to have futures. We're going to have sides, totals, player props. I'm going to be dialed in. And with how weird the time is going to be for these games, morning, afternoon, you guys are going to want to be dialed in with me on these package plays. So, we might be sending out some an hour before the game or, 5 hours before the game, whatever it might be. So wt.buzz/am. Make sure you sign up and get the full Olympic package. back over to you, Carmen. I know you got a great deal going right now as well.
Yeah, Andrew, that is a great deal. That's essentially two daily packages, and you get every single hockey play during the Olympics, right up until the gold medal game where Canada beats Sweden. Just kidding. I'm gonna piss off and alienate all of our U.S. followers. There's only one gold medal game that makes any sense, and it's Canada versus the USA. So, with that said. Guys, don't forget, first of all, before I get to the pod play, it is $5 Tuesdays over at WagerTalk. Every capper's got like a $5 single play up. You can get as many as you want or as little as you want. I have a couple plays up today, one in soccer, 7-0 run in soccer, and then one in NHL for tonight, and a 12-3 run in the NHL. So you can head over there. And there's some great deals as well, too, in the analysis section that you guys can take advantage of. And I really appreciate you guys who have taken advantage of, especially the last few days. We've been on a great run. So I talk about it is a marathon and not a sprint. I want to keep this run going. With that said, let's get to the pod. This pod today is a goalie-based pod play. Very rarely do I tell you it's a goalie-based one, but I'm taking the Philadelphia Flyers. Yes, hold your nose on this one. The Flyers minus 133. Why the Flyers minus 133? Well, we know the goaltending issues the Washington Capitals have right now. They played last night with Clay Stevenson. It's going to be another goalie that they called up from Hershey, Gary Bjorklund. He is in Hershey. Underwhelming numbers, 4-5-2 with a 343 goals against average and an 879 save percentage. Dear God, those are terrible numbers. I don't care how well you play defensively in front of him. If this guy cannot stop a puck at the NHL level, and he hasn't really played at the NHL level, the Flyers may actually find a win somehow. So that is your pod play. I'm taking the Flyers minus 133. This is a goalie-based pod play.
The Philadelphia Flyers, goalie-based matchup, goalie-based pod. And, Carmen, I think this Flyers team is going to be interesting to watch in the second half of the season, or I guess not the second half, the final third, I should say, because if their offense can show up, they're a good team, but they can't rely on their goaltending. They've had some pretty good goaltending throughout the year, but you can't just rely on the goaltending all year. So we'll see what ends up happening with that one. I think it's a pretty good slate today, man. Pretty good slate. One play up for me. Probably going to end up adding more. And I saw a comment here, but it could possible package you and I could do with some of your soccer and some of my Olympic packs. So we always try and listen to the people, man. So maybe we'll try and put this together because it seems like a pretty good idea to me.
Yeah, let's fire it up, man. I like these deals. Our office always puts together some great ones. And Melissa, Missy, they're always on top of the ball anytime I ask them for a coupon code for a customer, because sometimes it's not in a person's budget, and completely get it. That's why we have $5 Tuesdays at WagerTalk Customer Appreciation to price it for some of you guys who want to, dip your toe in the water. And there's some guys who want like a 30-day package, but sort of want like a beginner's package the first time buying something, and I'll get them a coupon code as well too. Just message me, on the X or whatever, and I'll do the best I can with that. But with that said, Andrew, that's pretty much it, man. Tomorrow we got Don Buster, we have Brian Leonard. The Prez is still skiing. He hasn't broken a leg or anything. I think he pooched my play yesterday. Or is it pooched or when someone steals your play, or pouched, or what's the word?
Pouched. Yeah. Pouched.
Pouched. I think he pouched my Minnesota play yesterday because he asked me who I liked. I told him my customer play was the Minnesota Wild yesterday against, your Montreal Canadiens, who played some pretty good hockey in that one, Andrew. I think he pouched my play. I'm going to hide my thoughts from him over the next little while. But with that said, guys, poached. That's it. Poached. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, RJ. I really appreciate it from you guys there. Poached, like kind of like poached pears. With that said, Guys, that's it for today. Thanks to Brian Leonard for coming on early. I know he had an appointment today. He'll be back on tomorrow doing double duty. Andrew McInnis, pick up his Olympic package. And of course, a ton of $5 plays over at WagerTalk on $5 Tuesdays, Customer Appreciation Day. For myself, Andrew, and Brian, this is Puck Time, guys. Have a fantastic Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.